All right, so get ready because today we are diving deep into a world where, well, let's just say, things aren't always as they seem.
Sounds intriguing.
It is, trust me.
Hmm.
We're talking about modernist literature.
Yeah.
You know, those big names like James Joyce, Virginia Woolf, T.S. Eliot.
Writers who weren't afraid to shake things up a bit.
Exactly. They'd really turned traditional storytelling on its head, and today we're going to explore just how they did that.
Sounds like a challenge.
It is, but a fascinating one. These writers use some seriously groundbreaking techniques like fragmentation, stream of consciousness, and, get this, disjointed narratives.
Disjointed narrative.
Yep, you heard that right. Their stories don't always flow in a neat chronological order.
Now that's playing with fire.
It is, and we're going to see why they took those risks and what it means for us as readers even today.
I'm ready to jump in.
So, first things first, let's set the stage. Picture this. It's the aftermath of World War I. The world is reeling, old certainties have vanished, and there's this sense that everything's fractured, broken.
A real sense of disillusionment.
Exactly. And that's where these modernist writers come in. They weren't just trying to be difficult or obscure. They were reflecting the reality around them.
They were capturing the chaos and fragmentation of the modern world.
So when we talk about fragmentation in modernist literature, it's not just about chopping up a story into random pieces.
Right, it's much deeper than that. Think of it like looking at a shattered vase. You see the individual pieces, but you also sense the whole that's been broken.
That's a great analogy. So in a way, readers are challenged to piece together those fragments, to make sense of the whole, even when it's not presented in a straightforward way.
And in doing so, we experience the world and even the human psyche in a way that mirrors the fragmentation of modern life.
Okay, so how about a concrete example of this?
Let's take James Joyce's Ulysses. The novel follows just one day in the life of Leopold Bloom, an ordinary guy in Dublin.
Sounds simple enough.
But the narrative jumps around between different characters, different timelines, different styles of writing. It's like trying to follow multiple conversations happening all at once.
That does sound a bit overwhelming.
It can be, but it's also exhilarating. Joyce is trying to recreate the experience of navigating a modern city with all its noise and confusion and the way our minds process all that information.
It's like how we experience the world today, with all the constant notifications and information overload coming at us from every direction.
Exactly, and that's what makes modernist literature so relevant even now. It speaks to the fragmented way we experience the world.
It's like they were ahead of their time.
In many ways, they were. And speaking of being ahead of their time, these writers were also pioneers in exploring the inner lives of their characters, which brings us to another one of their signature techniques, stream of consciousness.
Okay, stream of consciousness. This is where we really get inside the heads of the characters, right?
Yes, it's all about capturing the flow of thought, the way our minds jump from one idea to the next, often without logic or reason. You know, like when you're trying to fall asleep and your thoughts are just racing.
Oh, I know that feeling all too well. But how did they actually pull this off in their writing?
Instead of simply telling us what a character is thinking, they put us right there in the middle of their thought process. We experience their memories, associations, feelings, all jumbled together.
So it's not just about what they think, but how they think.
You got it. Think of it like overhearing someone's internal monologue with all its twists and turns and sudden shifts.
So we're not just observers, we're actually experiencing the world through the characters' eyes, or rather, through their minds.
And precisely. It's a powerful technique. Take Virginia Woolf's Mrs. Dalloway, for instance. We're swept along with Clarissa Dalloway's thoughts and feelings as she prepares for a party, and we experience everything right alongside her, from her anxieties to her deepest memories.
It's like we're right there in her head, feeling what she's feeling.
And that's what makes it so compelling. It's intimate, it's raw, it's messy, and it's deeply human. It forces us to engage with the character on a whole new level.
It makes me think about how much of traditional storytelling relies on neat and tidy explanations, clear cause and effect. But modernism seems to embrace the messiness of life.
It does. And that leads us to another key element of modernism, disjointed narratives.
And this sounds like it could be a challenge for readers.
It can be, but it's also incredibly rewarding. In a disjointed narrative, chronology might be disrupted, events might seem random or unconnected, and there might not even be a clear resolution.
So in a way, it's kind of like real life, where things don't always make sense and we don't always get the answers we're looking for.
Exactly. And for modernist writers, this reflected the reality of a world shattered by war and rapid change.
I can see how this might make some readers feel lost or frustrated.
It's understandable, but that feeling of disorientation can actually be part of the point. Modernism invites us to question the very idea of a neat and tidy story and to embrace the ambiguity and complexity of the world around us.
It sounds like modernism really asks a lot of its readers.
It does, but it also offers a lot in return. These works are challenging, yes, but they also reward close attention and deep thinking.
So, what would you say is the key to approaching modernist literature?
Don't be afraid to get lost. Be willing to embrace the challenge, to let go of the need for easy answers. Explore the multiple layers of meaning and the different interpretations that are possible.
It's not about pretending to get it to sound smart. It's about being open to a new way of experiencing a story.
Absolutely. It's about being open to a new way of engaging with language, meaning, and the very act of reading itself.
So, wrapping things up, if someone's just dipping their toes into the waters of modernism, what should they keep in mind?
Remember that these writers weren't just playing with words for fun. They were responding to a world in flux, a world questioning its own foundations. And their experimental techniques, while challenging, offer a unique perspective on the human condition that remains relevant even today.
And that's what makes this deep dive so fascinating. It leaves me wondering if modernism reflected the fragmentation of the early 20th century. What does contemporary literature say about our world today?
That's a great question. I think it's safe to say that literature always reflects the time and place in which it's created.
So much to think about. We've only scratched the surface here, but hopefully this deep dive is giving you a taste of the complexities and rewards of modernist literature. And who knows, maybe you'll even be inspired to pick up a challenging work and see what you discover.
It's definitely worth the effort.
Until next time, happy reading.
Happy reading.